Is Dodsworth a forgotten masterpiece, or is it a lemon? Find out today on Really Old Movies. Welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing the William Wyler film Dodsworth from 1936. Some essential movie details. Dodsworth was released in 1936 and was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. And it's also based on a novel and stage play of the same name. And Walter Huston, who plays the lead role of Sam Dodsworth, he was also in the stage play version of this story. So the basic plot, an auto manufacturer named Sam Dodsworth, he's trying to enjoy Europe and retirement with his wife to celebrate his retirement, as he comes to find out she's completely selfish and terrible to him, and it puts a major strain on their relationship. And through various different methods of trying to connect with her, their relationship just slowly but surely deteriorates. And that's the basic plot. I don't really want to spoil it. I think more people need to see this story or see this film to learn this story because it's a great story. I gave the plot a 4 out of 5. It's a really good story. I honestly had no idea what to expect. There isn't a whole lot of information about this film online or anywhere really. And you just never hear people talking about it. So this pretty much was a blind viewing. I really did not know what to expect. I just knew it was about an auto manufacturer and his relationship with his wife. That's like it. That's all you could find about it online. It was perfect though, because I didn't have any real biases going into it. I was just totally immersed in the story. And I was really happy with how the film ended. Sam finally decides to break away from his relationship with Fran, and he goes to Edith instead. I think that was a beautiful ending and a beautiful resolution to this crazy story. And it's not one of those films with a lot of action, anything like that. It's not like that at all. It's essentially set up like a stage play. We just see different scenes with these characters. They say their dialogue to each other, kind of back and forth. It's very much like a stage play, and I really liked that. I think not every film needs to have crazy amount of crazy amount of action, crazy amount of this. Sometimes it's the words that we say and do that are just as effective, and then the expressions on the actors and actresses' faces reacting was really impressive too. And that leads into my next point on acting. I give that a 5 out of 5. They were all amazing, all the main actors. Walter Huston in particular, he was really good as Sam. I could see why he went from being the stage play version to the movie version. He's a really talented actor. I also love how we're not entirely sure if he's completely infatuated with Fran. It seems like he was trying to stay with her more out of moral duty, more as like an obligation, rather than he's madly in love with her. But even he has his breaking point, and it's really satisfying to see him finally break up with that relationship and get with Edith. And Ruth Chatterton, she's also really good as Fran. She's not completely evil either. She's very complicated. And their scenes together in general really is where all the tension and all the discussions happen. They're the main players. They're the main ones we see the whole time. And it's almost like a dance that their dialogue is going back and forth. Now, Sam, he's trying to dance the jive or, some kind of fun type of dance. Fran just wants to do like the waltz or some very elitist type of thing. So they're never really in sync with each other, if you will. When they're talking, when they're interacting with each other, she's trying to be like pretty herself up and like be this elitist, whereas he's just trying to have fun because he's retired. He's traveling Europe with his wife, right? He's still kind of got that like middle class vibe to him, even though he dresses really nicely. So yeah, their interactions with each other are amazing. I mean, yeah, they hate each other basically, but it's really good. I really liked it. Now, in regards to directing, I gave it 3 out of 5. That's not bad. I think William Wyler does really good at assembling the talent and his scenes together. But I also wasn't a huge fan of how time was progressing really, really quickly. Like, I get that the focus was on how the relationship was deteriorating and just showing like further down the road. But it was just really fast how fast it was progressing. Like 6 months occurred over one cut, you know? It makes you realize the whole film was like over a year, that whole story, right? But if you don't pay attention, you might get lost. So that may be just on me, but I think it was just too quickly. It progressed too quickly, in my opinion. I think they could have done it, maybe 6 months in total for the progression. An example is when Sam gets home, he's with his daughter, and she says, yeah, I'm pregnant. I'm going to have a kid in 9 months. You know, they just found out or whatever. And then the next scene, the next cut, Sam is with Fran. They're in, I want to say it was Italy, or maybe it was Vienna. I can't remember, but one of those places. It's snowing outside, and they get a phone call that the baby's just been born. So it's like 6 or 8 months later. That was a really fast cut for me, and it was a little jarring, but I kind of get what they're trying to do. They're trying to show that that Fran just didn't really care about her grandkids and all of that. Sam wanted to stay in so he could call his daughter, see if she's okay, you know, learn about his grandkid, and Fran wanted nothing to do with it. She didn't want to think of herself as a grandma. Very selfish. But in regards to the directing, that was really the major nitpick for me, was how fast time was progressing. So that's why I gave it 3 out of 5. Now, cinematography and special effects, I also gave it 3 out of 5. It's pretty standard cinematography. It definitely felt more like a stage play than a movie, just because of how the camera is pretty steady, which I thought that was fine. But I don't know, they had an occasional close-up and all of that, but all the sets were really at a studio lot for a good chunk of it. I don't know if that really hurts the movie per se, but it just felt like a lot of the sets look very, very similar. They're always in like a hotel room. All the hotel rooms look very similar. There was no like visual cue. Hey, we're in Italy now. Hey, we're in Vienna, Austria now. You know, there was no real way of knowing. It just all felt like a set. But it's not too much of a detriment. I mean, the budget was probably really small and all of that. It wasn't like a big musical or anything like that. This is kind of like a smaller film. And they probably didn't have any intentions of it becoming this big movie, but it is what it is. In regards to music, I gave 3 out of 5. It was just pretty standard, nothing too spectacular. I think the real highlight and real strength of the movie is in the plot and in the acting. Now, all of that, though, could have been just from the original stage play, because this is basically an adaptation of that. Those, I think, are the strong points of it, the strong points of the film. All right, so that brings my final Letterboxd score to a 3.8 out of 5, which I'll be rounding to a 4 on Letterboxd. That's a great score. Like, that's not a terrible score at all. 4 out of 5, that's great. I really liked the movie. I'm shocked that no one talks about it that much, because this seems to be up there with movies like Citizen Kane even. It was a really good story and really good characters. From my understanding, Warner Archive has released a version of it, and it's the best version you could get of the movie right now. So I will be picking that up at some point. It's on my wish list now. But I really liked it. It was a great film. I'm just shocked that no one talks about it very much. The description for it on Canopy, that's where I watched it, was like a short paragraph. And then Wikipedia, same thing, not very long, not very many details about the movie. So I just don't get why no one talks about it. It's a great film. Would I recommend it? Absolutely. I really recommend everyone checks this film out. It's a really good movie, really good cast, really good storyline. And yeah, I think it needs to be talked about more. I definitely think it's a forgotten classic. I don't think it's a lemon at all. All right. Well, those are my thoughts and feelings on Dodsworth from 1936. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to our Instagram and Facebook at Really Old Movies, where I discuss details about the week's particular film. New podcast episodes are released Saturdays at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and now Amazon Music. All right, well, thank you so much for listening. This has been Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin. Take care.